Today I've been asked to talk about tips to get your offer accepted. We're in a market right now that is extremely volatile with offers everywhere you look on every property being multiple in nature and lots of competitors bidding over the asking price and having to deal with all of the complexities of that type of situation in that how does it appraise, what are we going to do, and all of those issues. But really the core of what we're doing here is how do we write an offer that wins the property, because that's the type of competitive nature that we're facing today. So a winning offer, for an offer to be a winning offer when we look at the RPA, we're looking at simplicity. In what way do I mean simplicity? Be specific on a closing date, getting control of the timeline of your offer, picking something that's whatever the lender has told you would be a length of time they would need to complete the transaction. Add 3 to 5 days to that. Pick a date with your client, invest in that particular date so that they're looking at their calendar with you to try to customize the purchase. Remember, if we have a buyer who is short on cash, short on capital to buy, we can try to record our transaction towards the end of the month and save them $1,000 to $2,000 in closing costs, depending on the price of their property. So just a little tip there, but let's get back to the issue of the day, which is making your offer simple. Okay? By simple, I'm talking about what realtors call a vanilla offer, an offer that does not ask the seller to do anything out of the norm as far as payment or cost. So in other words, the idea of a seller paying the buyer's closing costs is not going to be present in an offer that's most likely to win. So the vanilla offer does not have closing costs being paid. It does not ask for a termite inspection. It does not ask for a roof inspection. It does not ask for a seller to pay for a home warranty. It does not do things like ask for the title to be at a specific title company. Remember, that's a seller perk, usually passed on to the seller's agent as far as choosing who that's going to be. So we are looking in this situation to make our offer be very, very clean. I want every box checked that's appropriate. I want everything that's filled out correctly, but I want to make sure that in no way could it be construed that we are trying to make the seller pay for anything other than the standards of our marketplace. Okay, we certainly could do some positive things to enhance the chances of our offer if we've made what I would call the recommended or almost required call to the listing agent prior to writing up the offer. Ask that listing agent what the seller is looking for as far as terms that would be attractive to them. For example, if it was the July 3rd today, if we were making an offer and the seller had a house that was going to be finished on September 2, a brand new house, we would certainly want to think about maybe making our offer escrow length long enough to keep that seller from having to move. So we might be closing it 2 days after that so that seller would have ample time to make that move. Okay? So whatever they were looking for, we might want to include as much of that doesn't cost our buyer a lot of money, or that we could absorb it as a cost that might be very small in helping our buyer get the property. So in other words, maybe we would offer 2 weeks worth of free rent to that same seller in an attempt to differentiate our offer from everybody else. Other things that we can do to win our house, our destination house, we can put in some different clauses that might enhance our chances of getting a property. Some of those clauses might look like this. One of the most popular ones that we still are using here, and we've been using now for every bit of 15 years, is the escalation clause. The idea that we would make an offer of, say, $325,000 on a property. Maybe that was their asking price, and we wanted the property fairly badly, and that our buyer wanted to win this particular property by putting a clause in that said that our offer at $325,000 would be $325,000 or $2,500 over any other offer received by seller up to $350,000 as a cap. So in other words, we would be writing an offer that said, hey, look, we're between $325,000 and $347,500 is our actual offer amount, and then that would trigger us to be $2,500 higher. So our ceiling is then $350,000. So we could put that escalation clause in. If we were in a multiple offer situation, we need to make sure we explain what we're doing to the agent on the other side, or this doesn't work. The other agent must be on board with it, must be able to present it to their customer for their customer's acceptance. Another clause that we've had real good luck with, and so far I have yet to find another company using this clause, is the idea of a buyer paying some of the closing costs of the seller. If we had a buyer with a lot of cash, in a strong cash buyer, in the sense that they had enough 20% down, something like that, so they had quite a bit of cash in getting a finance transaction, and we're worried about the same thing everyone worries about today: is it going to be appraised at the sales price? If we could get the other agent on board with this idea prior to writing it up, it would be in our best interest. What we would do is say that the purchase price would be $300,000, for example, with the seller to pay, or their asking price, in other words, or the highest amount that we thought it would appraise for. And then our offer would be $12,000 more than that, with the offer saying $300,000, but the buyer paying $12,000 of the seller's closing costs, which would effectively raise our offer by that $12,000. So we would effectively give them a $312,000 price, but with a $300,000 face that would be the part that it would appraise for. The lender, as long as the buyer had sufficient funds for their down payment and closing costs separate from this, would not be concerned with this. In fact, it would actually lower their taxes so in the long term, and it would certainly lower their closing costs. So it would be a win for the buyer. It would be a bigger win for the seller. They would have most of their brokerage fee paid for, and all of their other closing costs, or $12,000 towards that number. So that would be a strong help for them. It would lower the overall sales price for them, so they'd have a small amount less in title and escrow and commission. But it's a win for everyone. It has been very, very effective as a strategy where we've had the right type of property and the right type of listing agent, that could understand it, and the right type of buyer for it as well. So when we're thinking of strategies that can help us get a property, we're looking for the edge in what the seller's wanting that we can possibly provide that doesn't cost our buyer money, or at least very much of it. Now, when we're talking about the biggest tip of all to differentiate our offer from the sea of other offers, we have to look at the incredibly successful letter that we've been using for many, many years with incredible results. And that is a agent-written letter talking about the important parts of their buyer and their buyer's love of the new property that they're writing up, and their family and their jobs and things like that. We live in a society where the seller craves to meet the buyer. They don't get a chance to, for the most part. They want to know more about them. They want to make that personal connection with the buyer, and the seller just rarely gets that opportunity. And this letter, for a lot of the sellers that are attached to their property or to their neighbors or location of where their home is. That type of thing is just an amazingly powerful document to attach to your offer, and do a really good job of pushing some of the emotional buttons of it for your client, and you'll be very impressed at the results. So those are some of the things that we can do to enable our offer to have a better chance of success in the marketplace today. Thank you.